name is Lana, and I am here to uplift, inspire, support, and empower you by leading from example from my personal life, an inspired life. That everything I speak about comes from my personal experience, not opinion, but I've actually experienced it, I've integrated it, I'm sharing lessons I've learned. This is called life hacking, and we should all be doing it for ourselves. I'm not here to tell you what your experience will be, but in some way, maybe it'll inspire you. Maybe, just maybe something I share is something you will relate to in your own life, and it will spark something in you to work on your healing journey, or maybe even find you inspired in your own life in some way, shape, or form, that it propels you forward, that you feel more empowered. Little nuggets of golden information, you never know. We find things around us all the time. And maybe something you see in me is something you don't know exists within you. See, every time we look at someone, we're comparing ourselves, consciously or unconsciously. And the key in noticing that is when we are comparing ourselves, are we disempowering ourselves? Are we really belittling ourselves? Or are we gauging where we're at in comparison to where someone else is, who has completely different experiences behind them? You don't know their stories. And so when we do compare ourselves, we're really shortchanging ourselves and other people. It's okay to look and go, oh, I admire that person. I'd like to experience what appears to me on the surface, because you don't know what's going on below the surface. Everything is subjective. Everything in life is experiential. And so whatever you choose for your life is what unfolds for you. We can assume that most every single person has made a choice to get to where they're at. We don't know how easy that was. We don't know what struggles or what gifts were given to those people. We can only assume. And you know what assuming does? It makes an ass out of you and me. So what I am here to share with you are just some recent, actually it's been a few weeks since I've done a video, and I am in deep process because ever since I had my Explant, I haven't felt healthier. In all truth, I knew I had some constrictions, restrictions, I had some physical limitations. I've struggled with chronic illness, chronic pain for so long, I forgot what it was like to feel pain-free. And as a result of the past few weeks, I've been working with a neuromuscular therapist. I have been continuing at the gym that I go to for strength and mobility, for flexibility, because that's me. I like gymnastics. I like to be limber. I want to maintain the youthfulness of my physical body to carry me through into the elder years. I don't believe in ageism or aging personally, because it's all about your BS, it's all about your belief systems. What you believe you can achieve. And if you believe you are limited, then you're limited. Because limits, or like I like to say, labels create limits. And I'm limitless in my mind. And so one of the things that I try to avoid, because I notice what happens when I label something, it gets neatly put in a box and tucked away and forgotten about. If I label myself as such and such, that limits me. I am infinite. I have infinite potential. My life has infinite possibilities. I don't want to just think that my mind knows it all. But that's the trick of the mind, is it keeps you small to protect you. And it's not about your happiness. It keeps you small so that you don't experience something that you've experienced in your past, because the mind can only compare what is unknown to what has been. Can you see the absurdity in that? That to rely upon a mind that only knows a finite amount of experiences or circumstances or scenarios or stories is trying to dictate and determine your next right choice or move in your life in an unknown circumstance or situation. The mind doesn't know what it doesn't know. It only knows what you've experienced and what it knows. So to put so much power, responsibility on your own mind, you really need to learn how to flip the switch, to change your mindset to that childlike curiosity you had when you were younger. You had this awe about you. Everything was brand new. Everything was new opportunities. Curiosity with smells, with things you saw, with things you heard, with things you tasted and touched. See, you were more heightened and tuning into, tapping into your five senses. As we're young, we're learning to navigate life through the data we take in through our five senses. As we become adults, we've numbed out a lot of that sensation. So although we're supposed to be extrasensory, we're hypersensitive in a numbed out way. And it's really about turning back on that inner child, reaching within to reparent ourselves, to recognize we are now responsible for that inner child that felt neglected, unseen, not heard. And so when you look around the world today, we have a lot of adults running around trying to get their unmet childhood needs fulfilled by other unhealed adults. And see, we can only meet people where they're at. And that level is based on whether they're healed in certain areas of their lives or they're still unhealed with unresolved past traumas. And until we work on ourselves, it'll be that much more difficult to have compassion out toward others. Because if we haven't found that compassion for ourselves, we will just be like ping pong or pinball machines pinging off of each other, flinging shit at each other like monkeys, creating more drama, more trauma, because every time you're triggered, you're re-experiencing all of those unresolved past traumas. And it's not the person that triggered you. It goes way deeper than that. And until you can catch yourself in awareness of the moment you are triggered, not to lash out, not to act out, not to react, but to take a deep breath. What is this trying to get my attention? What is the message in this blessing, this gift without a bow? People tend to serve as the catalyst to your healing. But if you're still in the victimhood mindset, you're going to think that they did something to you. Until you recognize that they're there energetically serving you. That when they poke you, provoke you, trigger you, consciously or unconsciously, a lot of times most people have no clue. It's only you that recognizes that something, salt in the wound, has been reawakened. So when someone serves you to be reconfronted with an old wound, they're really part of your healing process. It's hard to see them as that if you're in that victimhood mindset of everything's being done to me rather than served up for you. And so when someone does trigger you, taking that deep breath, taking that moment, just in awareness of the trigger, where do you feel it in your body? That's the first question you should always ask yourself. Where am I feeling this? Are there any memories popping into your mind? Does it remind you of anyone? Does it remind you of an experience, of a situation? Can you trace it back to the original trauma experience? when it first occurred. Because our lives are a series of events that compound. Until we heal the originating source of the wound, we will play out the wound repeatedly throughout the course of our lives. I am a walking testament to that. I know this from my personal experience. That in every relationship I ever had, I would notice, oh, there's a pattern here. And a lot of times the pattern was me. In fact, the majority of the time will be you. Because you can only operate from the level of your healing, the level of your awareness of your strengths, your weaknesses, your pains. What are you avoiding? Because what you anticipate, you create. And you'd be surprised, and you may have experienced this. I've been on the receiving, and I have been the one doing it. And this is one thing during these times, to be in awareness that when you trigger someone, notice if it's rubbing them in such a way that they lash out at you and attack you. It's not necessarily that it's your intention. To have that compassion, that awareness that that person is experiencing their trauma and that you just happen to be there as the catalyst. Sometimes that's kind of like, it's overwhelming. Because then that might rub one of your wounds, which is, why am I being attacked? Why am I being bullied? Why is it that maybe you revealed a vulnerability or a wound of your own that someone else couldn't handle and didn't want to hear? So then they actually re-victimize and attack you for it. Because I've experienced that. I've experienced that several times in my life. I'll use just one example. To when I was younger and I was still in the Air Force and I was dating a man, and I was really excited about something I was doing, and I did not feel like he was excited for me. In fact, he teased me about it. And that was very hurtful to my heart. Because I feel like if someone loves you, they're going to support you, whether they believe in what you're doing or not. If they see your excitement, why would they tease you about it? Wouldn't they get just as excited as you? That's the way I was as a young child and even as an adult. Like when I get fully excited about something, I can't hide it. People know my energy. They know how I am. And so as a result, he teased me and it hurt my feelings. It made me feel like this person's not showing me they love me. So when I tried to address it and share my vulnerability, and I handled things a lot different when I was younger. I would get very heated because that's how I was taught. That was the environment I was raised in. A very elevated voice and everybody yelling, and it's all about being heard. And I used to think that's passion. That shows you care, is raising your voice. But for some others, like my boyfriend at the time, that was not well received. In fact, he tuned me out because to yell to him was unnecessary, and he shut down. So he stonewalled me and wouldn't listen to what I was saying because of the delivery, per se. If you can get past it should be delivered a certain way, there should be compassion in that as well, because sometimes, yeah, it's not always nice. But maybe you can listen and hear between the words and even what's unsaid, because there's more to be felt and read into the message that is being conveyed. And so as a result, I was yelling and upset that, you hurt my feelings, and, why would you do that? Why would you speak and joke about it in front of other people, in front of our friends? Because it was demoralizing. It was embarrassing. And then because I couldn't speak excited about it without someone teasing me and not taking me serious when I was actually serious. And he still didn't get it. And this is the thing. We want people to understand us. We want people to relate to us. And so when someone doesn't get us, it's that extra wound on top of the wound. It's the salt rubbed into the wound. It's that feeling like, I just revealed my heart to you and you couldn't hold the space for me. You had no compassion, no, like, you know, where's the I'm sorry? There wasn't even an I'm sorry. It was, well, that wasn't my intention, so therefore you shouldn't be hurt. It was highly cognitive dissonance. The idea that just because you didn't mean to do something didn't change the fact that it still happened. And this happens a lot out in the world because, again, people can only meet you at their level of healing. And unless a person is in their full sovereignty and awareness, they're embodying all of their truth, they're not going to be able to recognize your truth. And it's the same for you. If you don't know your truth, how are you going to speak your truth? And a lot of people run around saying they're speaking their truth, but sometimes they're actually poking and provoking. They're itching and looking to offend and be offended. And it takes a lot of deep honesty and reflection to recognize if that's a pattern within you or you see it in others. But it's up to the individual to be the one who confronts it, because we're not here to fix each other. We're not here to point out each other's faults. In fact, that's the nasty way of going about it, because that's just a distraction from you even acknowledging your own shortcomings. It's easier to poke or to point a finger out at another person, but remember, you got three fingers pointing back. You got a loaded gun, and the triggers are, it's your past, your present, or possibly your future. But when you point a finger, that's going to ricochet back at you 3 times. So always be intentional with your word. Come from your heart. Set and setting is from within. The inner standing of knowing where you're at when you're emitting your energy, emitting or not even speaking. I want you to understand that we are energetic beings and that your thoughts are felt. That just because you didn't intend for something, if you weren't consciously aware of where it was coming from, it's going to come out from wherever that was. And you really need to be in the mindset of mindfulness, intention, and from an open heart. The other morning, the first thing that dropped into me, and this is because I have been literally broken wide open, like ever since I took out these implants, my heart has been out there. I have been addressing people from vulnerability. I have been expressing with courageous vulnerability and rawness of who I am and where I've been over these past 4 months, especially in regards to how I've felt. And it's something that takes a lot of courage and strength. I'm a Leo. I am here to demonstrate to the world that an open heart is protective. The more open your heart, the more protected you are. The more you trust your heart, the more it will protect you. From an expansive space, not a contracted space. Because when we protect and we close it down, we're actually constricting ourselves. We're imprisoning, literally. So imagine that your heart and your lungs are in a cage. They're imprisoned by your rib cage. To constrict it even more also restricts your life. And we are only the victims of our choosing. The choices we make are what limit us. The labels we ascribe to create our limitations. The only way to get out of our own personal imprisonment, which is the mind, because it's our BS that keeps us locked in to the repetitive cycles. And if you have the broken record of your BS, your belief systems going on, saying the same things, and you're totally unconscious about it, then it is running the show from behind the scenes. Until you become fully present with what it is that is in your unconscious programming, until you sit with, and that's the hardest part, at least that's what most people will say, I can't meditate because my mind's too busy. That's the point. Meditation is slowing down and listening to what is really going on behind the scenes. And we're just like computers. We have a program. It's our belief systems, our BS. And what that does creates the foundation of our life. Now, body awareness is my passion. I'm all about the mind, body, spirit connection, which is the Holy Trinity of connection to your soul. It is about awareness, tapping into your body's wisdom, listening within, breathing fully, breath awareness. All of it is important. Everything starts with the breath. In the beginning, it wasn't the word, it was the breath. It was the breath of life that God breathed into all of existence. You can't have a word without a breath behind it. And so every breath you take is the blessing of God loving you so much that he gave you life, that you have life. We should never dismiss that. We should be in gratitude for that every moment. And when we slow down and we get real mindful of the breath, then we notice the mind kicks in. And when we become aware of the mind and the inner workings, and we listen, and no matter how challenging that may be, the things that arise, you're like, ooh, I didn't know that existed. The more we master our breath, we can master our minds, and then overall we're going to be able to master our lives. The body is just the mirror of the mind. And so this weekend I have a body awareness workshop. I created this back in 2013-14. And it has evolved as I have evolved, because I have always been involved in fitness, in exercise, in wellness. My last name, 𝐕𝐢𝐧𝐝, is about overall lifestyle, wellness. It's the whole health, santé. It's the 𝐕𝐢𝐧𝐝 is the bounty of life. And so it's about feeling it fully so you can heal it fully. The more you feel, the more you heal. The deeper you're breathing, the more the breath of your life, the more expansiveness of your life. That the more you're willing to feel, the more you're going to experience the breath of the life that you are living, the richer your life will be. But most people out of addiction are trying to numb the pain. And when we numb the pain, we numb the joy. And so therefore, our bodies themselves get numbed out. And so they chase the high. Because when you've numbed out your physical body, you have to reinforce feeling by seeking things outside of yourself. This is the cycle of addiction that most people don't realize they're caught up in, whether it is with food, recreational drugs, drinking, shopping, whatever your poison. We pick our poison. We also pick our medicine. So you can make your life your medicine if you're willing to be fully present with it. But the more you try to run from it, the more it catches up and the more it shows up from that unhealed space. So body awareness, it really is about tapping into your five senses. It is about the breath. It is about the meditation, the mindfulness, but it's also feeling into every sensation. That the spine is a direct correlation to the mind. The more rigid, the more inflexible your spine, it's telling you, and it's telling on your mind. If you have dogmatic beliefs, your BS is just, psh, I know it all, your body's going to be stiff as hell. Just like we can talk about the pelvis, we can talk about the stomach, we can talk about how we digest food, but we also digest your mood and all of these beliefs. So your stomach will tell you, I'm queasy, ooh, I have butterflies, ooh, I have this, I have that. And those are all reflections of the mind. Everything that registers in the body is responding to the mind. So when we have a sensation in the body, the first thing you should be doing is slowing down and go, ooh, okay, I feel pain. My body's trying to get my attention. You feel pain, you feel tension. It's vying for your attention. The body is always guiding you. The body is your guidance system. When you learn to trust and listen, you can become unstoppable. You can actually rewire your mind, because the only way to get through the mind is through moving the body. That's why movement is your medicine. Movement is so important, that it is about embodiment. Embodiment is really feeling, not ignoring, not dismissing, not running, not chasing elsewhere. It's going within, not going without. There's more to my workshop as far as talking about the different chakras, talking about the front of the body, the left of the body, the right body, the back. Each corresponds to, you have duality, polarity in this world. We have the feminine and the masculine. Those are the contrasts. Every aspect of your body has a feminine side and a masculine side. We are embodiment of it all. When one thing in your life is off, when one part of your body is imbalanced, it's just showing you the imbalance is the opportunity to course correct. It's the opportunity to come back into neutrality. To be standing on one leg is to balance on one side, but it doesn't balance the other, does it? So when we put both feet flat on the floor and we ground into the earth, now you're in the neutral space. You are grounding in through both feet. But if you're putting weight on one side or the other, there's an imbalance, right? Just like if your emotions go from the extreme anger to the extreme happy excitement, those are just showing the polarities of your experience, of your emotions, of whatever it was that you were excited or angry about. But that is just a small look into how you can navigate when you're imbalanced. When you're imbalanced, just taking a moment to go, wow, okay, I am experiencing anger right now. I am not anger. I am experiencing that. Where do I feel it in my body? I am not the anger. It's just an experience. I am not the joy. I'm not the pain. It's what I am feeling. It is what is in this moment. But it doesn't own me, and I don't own it. See, energy in motion is meant to stay in motion. So there's always an opportunity to move it. Because if you don't move it, it'll either get stuck and stagnant and fester, linger longer, or you'll lose the functionality of your physical body. You know, a body in motion stays in motion. And you want to stay youthful. Seems to be that people chase the fountain of good health, but don't want to do the work to do it, right? You have to be devoted. You have to put yourself in uncomfortable circumstances and situations, because that's the only way we grow. We don't grow within our comfort zone. Your body does not improve and become stronger without you exerting some force, chasing the pain, as Ed Milet was saying in a podcast I was reminded about the other day. See, this is the irony of life. You can't avoid pain. You can't just seek out pleasure without experiencing some pain to get there, because how else do you know what pleasure is without some pain? And vice versa. How would you know pleasure? How would you know pain without having experienced the pleasure? That's that duality. That's the polarities playing out in your life. And the more you become aware of this, then maybe you can step back and go, oh, wait a minute here. It's all temporary, and this too shall pass. When you recognize the pleasure is going to be temporary, and eventually you'll feel the pain, and then the pain will be temporary, and eventually you feel the pleasure. Instead of getting caught up in the, I don't want to feel this right now. How about just feel it so you can heal it? How about just be present with it so that it gets the opportunity to move forward, to move on? Because most of the time what you don't realize, that the resistance to the feeling of it is what makes it stick around longer. It's what makes it linger longer. That what you resist will persist because you're giving it just as much attention than if you just allowed it. But it's the resistance that gives it more power and force that makes it feel worse. What most people don't realize when you're non-confrontational, because you're still operating from a trauma response, you're still trying to avoid the pain of your past, when you're just really creating it more and more because of the resistance and the avoidance. If you could go into a meditation and just revisit that old time and sit with it, and even tap into your inner child that's going, hey, listen, we just wanted recognition back there, and we just wanted to know that it's okay to move forward instead of constantly revisiting, and re-experiencing. But until we become aware of the pattern and tracing it back, then we will repeat it over and over again. But this is a choice in life. And this is the part most people don't realize, is you're choosing to feel what you feel, especially after a certain point. Whether it's a minute or longer, then you've already chosen it. But essentially, we say in Kundalini Yoga, it should take 9 seconds for you to make a choice, because you process 3 seconds in the negative mind to evaluate if there's a threat, then in the positive mind to evaluate if there is something that's opportunity here. There always is. And then the neutral mind, where it evaluates all of it together and goes, okay, now moving forward. If you spend more than 3 seconds in any one of those areas, you've essentially chosen your suffering. You've essentially chosen to stay stuck where you're at. But a lot of times it's meant for you to also be in that moment, because that's part of the feeling to heal. That's part of the only way to really move energy is to sit in it sometimes. Just like the lotus sits, it grows out of the mud. You got to sit in the muck so that you yourself can grow and blossom. There's nourishment in it all. It's just a changing, a flipping of the script. It's a change in your mindset, and recognizing there is a gift in every moment. There is a lesson, there is maybe an opportunity for growth whenever you're presented with a challenge of the mind. When the mind feels, I don't want to confront this. When the mind goes into that crazy little tailspin, that's usually meaning, there's the breakthrough around the corner, or there's an opportunity for growth. Confusion, stagnation, whenever there feels like there's a resistance, a rub, like the diamond needs to be polished, that's what's happening. The mind wants to keep you small and protected. It doesn't want you to expand and go out. It doesn't care if you're happy. And that's what can hold us back in life, is the mind. So, you feel stagnant, you feel something in your body, get up and you move it, you shake it, you run around the house, you dance, throw on some music that uplifts you. You'd be surprised how quickly you can move it. If you've been following me long enough, you know that I do lots of kitchen dances. That I grew up with a mother that we would dance in the kitchen. That was a true story. We'd dance all around the house. My parents had a king-size bed. We were jumping up and down all the time. The oldies. Great times. So I was encouraged. I wanted to be a dancer growing up. But also, I know from myself, with the fiery lioness comportamento, like my mind, it's like, for me, if I feel heated or I feel charged, I innately, intuitively know I need to move my body. I've known that since I was a little girl. I used to throw temper tantrums because that's how I would shake it out. And believe it or not, there is nothing wrong with the temper tantrum when you're a kid, because that might be how they process. But it's in the witnessing of that child that you will help that child work through it even better. The ignoring the child, which many of us might have been, doesn't help them. It doesn't make them feel seen or heard. And that's where we're at as adults, that maybe we weren't seen or heard or acknowledged for what we were feeling. But because you're an adult now, it's your opportunity to hold yourself, to look in the mirror and go, I see you. It's okay to feel this way right now. And in fact, if we're going to feel that way, let's go full on in. And when you're ready, we can change this at any moment. Because maybe you do need to sit in some muck. Maybe you really need to feel shitty to remind yourself of how good you want to feel on the other side. Sometimes that's why life happens the way it does, so that we will appreciate it that much more when the good times are there. Because if we had all these good times all the time, would we really be as grateful for the lives that we live? Think of all the times that things weren't going your way. You didn't get what you wanted. How many of those times did it work out even better for you? I can speak from my personal experience. I've gone through some really challenging, like, how the hell did I do that? Just to prove, not saying I did it on purpose, but the universe, God, never gives you more than you can handle. And in my life, I've experienced adversity, challenges of authority, people trying to control me, in situations where, in the end, I was so proud of the way I handled things, that I was resourceful, became stronger and resilient. I'm not saying it was not, rainbows and unicorns and butterflies and such. Because some of the times I still look back like, I can tell you nobody else would have wanted to be able to have to go through that. Could have tolerated some of the stuff I've dealt with. But in a lot of ways, I'm grateful, because then, now that I've experienced what I've experienced, I can better handle circumstances, that I have better composure and appreciation and compassion for where I've been, for how much I know I'm worth, number one, because sometimes we have to be devalued to find our value. See how that works? Polarity and duality. Like, when you experience the opposing, it sure makes it clear, as crystal clear as possible, that, okay, that is definitely not the direction I want to go. We're going the opposite direction. And in some cases, some of us have to experience the extremes once again. So we got really, really shitty, and maybe even go a little bit overboard, and maybe we had too much of something, to come back to the neutrality. So I've had the wonderful, great paying jobs, great 6 figures plus. And then I've also been on the other end where it's like, wow, I have to budget to the point where I'm like, okay, I don't know how I'm making it work, but it worked because I witnessed my mom, and she always made things work. But as a result, I can balance. That's what life is about, is how well do you show up when things aren't working out perfectly for you. So when you don't have the best of everything, can you do the best with what you have? That's always the question about life. Let's see how you handle this. Are you going to throw a temper tantrum now that you're an adult? Because that ain't going to get you anywhere. It might have worked when you were a child because that was your coping mechanism. That might have been your survival skill. And maybe it worked through your adulthood to a certain point. But I guarantee there's a certain point where you probably lost a lot of friends and people around you because they just didn't want to deal with it. When you become honest with yourself and you really confront your habits, you start to recognize, oh my gosh, okay, I need to change that. It's not until you become aware of it that you have the opportunity to change it. You don't know what you don't know until you know it. And when you know better, you get the opportunity to do better. And practice is what makes progress. It doesn't happen overnight. And with the same level of thinking that created the problem, you cannot think outside of it. The mind cannot fix the problems it created. So this is why it is so important to move your body, to tap into your body's wisdom, to really recognize that the body is always guiding you. Yes, something upsets you. Find a way to, an outlet. Find some way to physically get away from the thinking it. Because overthinking it doesn't solve it either. It doesn't necessarily make our lives easier. So some of the revelations, and I came on here especially because I've just been like, wow. So as I was saying earlier, I've been having conversations with people from my open heart, from this level of healing that I have been working through for years, that I know that I want integrous, very clear, above board relationships, that I only allow into my life the receptive energy that I'm giving out. That people have to start taking responsibility for the energy that they're emitting and bringing in. That, as they say, you are the sum of the people that you hang out with the most. You should choose your circle wisely. If you are still hanging out with people who do not value you, do not celebrate you, why would you? Why do that to yourself? Why torture yourself? I'm at a point in my life where if I'm not being celebrated, I'm choosing to place myself elsewhere. I'm only going where I am celebrated so that I can celebrate those who celebrate me, and we can celebrate each other equally. Because life is about celebration, about joy, play. That's what I'm here for, is to show you life is meant to be about bringing back the vitality, the childlike nature, the curiosity, the creativity, the play, open hearts. None of this closed off, everybody picking for a fight. If you're picking for a fight, all you're doing is trying to find someone who will help heal you or enable you in your shit. Nobody's got any time for that. Most of us want to be happy. But until you choose what that happiness looks like and feels like, because you got to start from the feeling. You can't, again, this is not just a thinking thing. You can think your way until you're blue in the face, but chances are that'll still get you in trouble too. So I have been very vulnerable, and I have very much been sharing my heart and how in many cases I haven't been feeling as supported, because when you go through your toughest times in life, that is when you learn who your true friends are. And honestly, with the level that I come from, that I'm at in my life, I intimidate people who don't realize they're intimidated. It's not I'm intimidating. It's that they feel intimidated by the fact that I raise things that maybe they don't want to deal with. And it's never my intention. My intention is to make everyone feel good, to meet from a heart-to-heart space. I don't go seeking confrontation or conflict. If anything, I'm here to elevate. Like I said, I'm here to support, to inspire, to elevate, and empower. Because life is about, we should be raising each other up, not tearing each other down. And when someone comes at you, attacking you, it's just like an animal that feels they're being, life or threat. That's a life or threat. The fear response, right? The fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. That's like the animal up in the corner feeling like it's being cornered and it has to fight back. That just shows, number one, they're not in their body. It's all up in here. They're reliving a trauma. Their nervous system is fried. They're probably not breathing, because the first thing you do is you cut off your life support, which is your breath. If you can just sometimes that's the hardest thing, is to truly be present with somebody when they're freaking out. If you can hold that space, that'll show how your level of healing is. If you don't react back, that shows your level of healing. That's powerful. If you can hold your heart and just somehow breathe, an intention that your breath is also inspiring them to inspire, to respire, to take in breath themselves. You'd be surprised if you don't react to them and you just show them compassion and you slow down and just breathe and hold them in your heart. that may diffuse the situation. Now, I can't say that's going to work with everybody, but depending on the circumstances, sometimes just being, not reacting, not responding, not even saying a word, just being, just looking at them, opening your heart, coming from that purity, that intention that I see you, I'm witnessing you. Wow. Whatever that is must have hurt for you to be lashing out at me. And it's never you. There's always, if anybody is ever reacting. Now, I'm not saying you're going to be able to say, oh, this isn't about me. That's the arrogance. That's the ego. The truth of the matter is, therein lies a hurt inner child that they themselves have neglected and don't realize it because they were neglected. So when we neglect ourselves, it's because that's how we were taught. When we were neglected at a young age, we were taught that we weren't important or valuable. And so the neglect we experienced from a parent, from anybody in our childhood, is essentially the neglect we also ended up learning toward ourselves. Think about that. It's not that you're intentionally neglecting yourself. It's that you were never taught how to take care of yourself, how to parent yourself. So the neglect of yourself really is the emulation of what you were taught. That you were devalued, you weren't taught that you mattered. And until you address it, confront it, own it, and heal it, like feel it fully, it will continue to repeat itself. And it'll look like people on the external of yourself, but what it really is the internal energy drawing that towards you. And this may sound like, what is she talking about? But we attract where we're at. If we feel like a rabid animal that is constantly under attack, you're in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, you are in the stress response constantly. So your blood is pumping cortisol, you're anticipating attack after attack, and you're on the defense or the offense. You're looking to be offended. Believe it or not, that's a real thing. I experienced it for a good portion of my life to where I looked for things to defend myself from. It was a crazy experience of my life, but I visibly saw it play out to where when I anticipated something, I drew it to me. That if I was already defending myself, and my mother taught us this when we were younger, that if I was going to defend myself, it typically meant there was something to defend. It's not that I was wrong, it's that I felt guilty, and I was showing the guilt. So therefore, what happens? The perpetrator feeds off the victim. And if you're in a victim mindset, which is being on defense or feeling guilty about something, even if you have no reason to be guilty, you may just feel guilty for something you have no reason to be guilty over. And as a result, you draw the energy of the perpetrator, somebody to attack you. That is how that works. Now, it's not just so cut and dry. It really is about noticing the patterns. It really is tuning in. Nobody's going to be able to tell anybody this is the reason why you are the way you are. You have to learn that for you. You can work with therapists, coaches, and mentors, but essentially it's up to you to be willing to see what is within you. People can give you the tools, but it's up to you to apply them. It's up to you to take the information and integrate it, to address it, because nobody can do that for you. That is the work. That is the shadow work. That is actually confronting the dark stuff. And when we say shadow work and dark stuff, it is not like evil. It is not like the devil coming out to like devour you. This is just that other half of you that needs to also be integrated for you to be fully whole. To be whole and sovereign, you have to own all your parts. You are not just the good stuff. You are not just the light. You are a myriad. You are a melange of colors, sensations, sights, sounds, smells, tastes, all of it. The sensations are the mix of who you are. And you are a beautiful, extrasensory being, here to have experiences, to delight you, surprise you, catch you off guard, to get you to really fully experience everything you came here to experience. So no matter how people show up to you, you always have to go back to, where am I at? What am I? What is my energy that I am projecting, that I'm amplifying? Because the higher your vibe, the more others will rise. The lower your vibe, the more you'll be taken down. So it's about maintaining that. Raising your vibe is about you. The more conscious you are, the more aware you are, that when you know thyself so well, nobody can catch you off your guard. Because your on guard is your heart expanded. That heart is your shield. It's not that it needs to be protected. It is what protects. Because the heart is also where the lungs reside. And the stronger your breath, the more powerful and the more you breathe, the more you are protected. Because even just like with breath work, and when we talk about nutrition, the more powerful you breathe, the more alkaline your blood, the more protected, the higher your immune system response in the face of any adversity or anything that might take you out. You'd be surprised. You know, that's what breatharians are for. You know, they actually just live off the breath, the prana. But yeah, we're here to also experience food and such. And we're not here to, like, go to extremes. We're here to have a myriad of experiences. Some people may think they want to be a monk. Some people may want to be a nun. That's all a choice, and it's all an experience. You know, there's so much divisiveness in the world. Stop with the labels. Stop with the judgment. Yes, we all judge. We all judge. Never say you don't judge. And when someone says they don't judge, don't believe them. Because we do. We all do. But it doesn't make you a bad person. The question is whether or not you're giving yourself a break, because a judgment is a comparison. And when you judge another, you're essentially judging yourself. It is a breaking of your own heart in that respect. It's about discernment. And that's a different form of judgment. It is okay, I am coming up to a street where there is traffic. I have to discern whether or not the vehicles are spaced out enough that I can cross the road as opposed to getting hit by a car. That's a normal judgment you're going to have to take and make every day of your life, that you want to cross a street. And it's benign because it doesn't harm anyone. And it doesn't emit an energy or a frequency that is taking someone down. So low vibe energy is the judgment that is comparing yourself to another. Oh, I don't like that person because of such and such. When in reality, that's just a reflection of something you don't like within yourself. So anytime we make a judgment that is like attacking, whether you want to believe it or not, toward another, it's toward ourselves. It's like a boomerang effect. And anything you think of another is going to come back on you. You want to really expand yourself and really raise your vibe in a way that you're abundant and constantly taken care of by the universe. Be in awareness of when you do that and start correcting it. Because that in itself is what will bring you down. Takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable and share your heart. And I am all heart, honey. I just want you to know this has been a really rough time for me. I think I can make up the story, let's put it that way, that a lot of people think I got my shit together, and I do, in a lot of ways. But every once in a while, it's nice to know that somebody cares enough to reach out and say, hey, Lana, how are you? Are you doing okay? Because I do that a lot for other people. and I don't always receive the same in return from others. And that's I'm just going to say it. It hurts. It hurts my heart. It makes me sad because it makes me realize that there are people out there that are in a survival mode and they don't even realize it. And I'm over here trying to encourage and inspire thriving. That if it's all about you and the narcissism, and you don't ever think about taking, giving back to someone who has filled your cup, or ensuring that someone who has shown you a good favor, that you return that favor. Good behavior is something that needs to be reciprocated and rewarded. If someone has encouraged you, been your biggest cheerleader, you want them to continue doing that. Otherwise, they're not going to continue doing it if they don't feel appreciated. And this is kind of the world we're in right now, where people are trying to find their tribes. And then so many of these different circles, they're finding, oh my gosh, there's a lot of flakes, there's a lot of escapism, there's a lot of bullshit, there's a lot of self-righteousness. The idea that because they're in a certain spiritual community that they're better than everybody else, or, well, I look like I got my shit together because I'm in the group, or I'm going through the motions. The only thing that's hurting is those people themselves. And it's really sad, because if you can't be honest with yourself, you're not going to be honest with others. And honesty is something that can be felt too. But if you're not honest with yourself, I want you to understand something. If you're someone who's not honest with yourself fully, you'll find that others lie to you. And then you'll wonder, why aren't they being honest with me? The first question you should ask yourself is, where am I not being truthful with myself? Because what they're just doing is showing and emulating to you the energy that you bring. Dishonesty within attracts dishonesty. The more honest we can be with ourselves, the more honesty will show up to us. And when you're honest with yourself and you know yourself so well, that's, again, like I said, people can't catch you off your guard. They're not going to be able to pull one over on you, because you'll feel truth in your body because you trust it. So again, the reason I am so passionate about the body and about awareness of the body, the mind, body, spirit connection, is because the body will always give you the truth. But if you are numbing it out, if you are not tapped into your physical body and grounded within it, and not tuning into the signs it's exhibiting, because it's always telling you what you need to know, then you'll get tripped up more often than you care to experience. The body is the biggest gift. This is our temple, Go to the temple and you will find the truth. Think about that. So many scriptures. I'm not even here to promote any religion. This is really like all the answers that you seek are within. Like, all of this stuff is not new. It's just about, again, embodying it, knowing it as your truth. You can amass a whole lot of knowledge. You can hoard a whole lot of information. But until the body is informed in your cellular being, in every cell of your being, it isn't integrated. It doesn't become wisdom until you experience it full on and embody it. And that's what life is really about. So all this time, in 4 months' time, I have been without, it's 4 months now. Losing my dog, that was like the hardest, and I go through these waves, like, wow, Jesus, this really sucks. I want my fucking dog back, okay? Just telling you that. My boo. But see, the thing is the universe gave me a clean slate. And something I've been reflecting upon the past couple days is, I understand when women get breast cancer, or, people have these life-death circumstances. And I had an appendectomy. That was pretty darn close too. That made me shift my life immediately as well. But this one really served me up more than I could have ever imagined, because people don't understand. Yeah, I do it for vanity. I want to get bigger boobs. But that's a shield. That's your fucking heart, ladies. Why do we do this? So that we can be more appealing to the other sex? It's the most superficial thing ever. It may give us some sort of a self-confidence and boost our body image, but you still got to live with the chronic pain, dis-ease, discomfort, the pinches, the soreness, the tightness, the back pain, whatever it is, because all of us got something. Breast implant illness is real. Even if you want to dismiss it and say, oh no, it's some other thing, right? And then wondering, and the other thing is also birth control. Like, ladies, if you're out there on birth control, that shit's messing up your system too. I have these conversations around hormone imbalances, and I'm like, do you realize that's just a symptom? Most people don't go to the cause. The doctors are there to treat the symptoms. Here's some medicine. But when it really boils down to it, your body is going to tell you there's an imbalance without a test if you listen. Okay, I'm getting hot flashes. Okay, well, your body is trying to release something energetically and physically. Your body is amazing. There's infinite wisdom within you. And until you tap into it and you keep going out, you go without. It's called being empty-handed. So I really believe in tapping into the body's wisdom because I feel like all the answers are there. Because I found the answers. I am a living testament. My body is my temple. It is my living testament. And I can tell you right now that the story of my life has been practice makes progress. Things don't happen overnight because everything's cumulative. I didn't know I had all this discomfort and these diseases, allergies to gluten and issues with IBS and stress and blah, 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 physical pains and shoulder issues and hip. And I got one tibia longer on one leg. So therefore that's why my hips were out. My whole skeletal structure was way off. It wasn't until recently that I learned all that. But that's been what's cascaded out ever since I had the breast implants removed, is that my body's like quick healing right now. Even today in my neuromuscular appointment, the therapist was like, wow, in a month and a half's time, my body has corrected just because, and I said, listen, I know why, because I do talk to myself. When I go to sleep at night, I lay in bed and I bless myself and I'm grateful and I talk to my body and I'm so, I love my breasts and I'm so happy and grateful to my body for the way that it takes care of me. I thank every part of myself. And I visualize that the tibia bone's getting longer and that I'm grateful for the fact that my hips are open and that they're self-correcting and that, the pinches and the pains are going away and that everything is going back into place. Because it's in the awareness of the imbalance that you start to heal. But until you're aware of it, how can you heal it? Again, when you know better, you can do better. So why would you continue to do something that keeps causing more problems? This is usually the definition of crazy here. Most of us are like, I can't understand why I still have this pain, but they're down in, beers or they got a beer belly. Let's just use that as an example. So the most important things that most people don't realize is your navel center, your seat of your will. Like all of the strength, if you don't have a strong navel center and you got that belly just hanging out, you probably get taken advantage of a lot. You probably don't know how to actually speak up for yourself. You're probably more reactive. You have a lot of emotional stuff. You're real wishy-washy. I could go on about this stuff. Just like saggy bottoms, you got to have a strong ass too. That's part of your foundation. These lower chakras, when you're not taking care of your body and your structure is just, but it's crickly and crunchy and that's all a reflection of your mind. Your mindset is everything. Mindset matters. So I've just learned through my personal experience how important it is because I know my body. My body is always healing because I am I believe in it. I'm not going to buy into a label. I'm not going to buy into a limitation or what someone tells me. Because this is the body I live in 24/7. This temple is my responsibility. I'm not hiring out for someone else to tell me when they only get to see me for a few minutes here or there in an appointment. But I will seek out people like my neuromuscular therapist, who is amazing, and he listens, and I tell him, this is where I feel it, and he digs in, and then it starts to soften because I know that's what's needed, and he just knows exactly where I need to, you know, be opened up. Like today it was the sciatic nerve, because I said, you know, I feel my sciatic all the way to my big toe. It's like, unless you tap into your body's wisdom, you're going to constantly be at the whim, the beck and pains and calls, and like I said, it lingers longer. You want to heal something that's chronic, you have to be willing to get out of your comfort of that discomfort. And that can be your biggest addiction, is to your pain. Because somehow that pain may be serving you to either get attention. Oh, you know, there's a lot of people out there that do that. I can't do this, so I need someone to help me. If you're fighting for your limitations, you're always fighting, right? Why would you want to defend limitations? Why not look at what you are capable of? Find things to be grateful for. Find the things that light you up and give you joy. Find the people that support you in that encourage you, that push you and challenge you. Nobody really wants to be enabled. People do want to be challenged in a healthy way. They want to feel people will promote them and support them and make them feel important. Because if you're not giving value, you're not going to feel valued, right? That's how that works. So sometimes, and this is one of the things I've been dealing with lately, is that there have been a lot of times I haven't felt valued. And I did have to sit with the fact that, oh, wow, I was giving more value than what I was willing to receive or allow, or maybe even demonstrate my own valuing of myself. And because for me, sometimes things come so easy, I just easily give it away. And I've had to kind of like step it back. And it's not that I want to withhold, and it's not unhealthy. I've had to do it from my own self, my own heart, to recognize I need to give more to myself in these times. Because during this time I've been healing, there have been a lot of crickets, and it's actually been kind of sad. And it's been, like I said, it's been a lonely time. It's been another lonely time in my life. This isn't the first time I've gone through something like this. And it just tells me that it is that time of change for me. It is a major life change. Like when you change your body after 23 years of it always being a certain way, 23 years of having breast implants, this is a whole new invention. Like I get to reimagine, I get to restyle myself. I get to like recreate my image, recreate my style, and just, it's a do-over. And it's a healthy one. Because I am fit, I am fabulous, I am over 40, and I feel more alive now than I have in years. I feel less pain as a result of getting these out, like the implants out. Like I feel more expansive. People notice that there's something about me that's different. And I've gotten more compliments as a result. I don't feel self-conscious. Although I do look in my closet and I'm like, oh man, I got a lot of stuff I got to get rid of. Kind of stinks. I had some really nice lingerie and certain outfits. But you know what? I'm okay with that. It's an adjustment. And because I prepared myself during the period leading up to the surgery, it has actually been very beneficial to me to know that this was going to happen. And I knew this. But to the level that it really opened me so wide open, and to have to go through losing Buddy and, you know, losing friends. Because that's what essentially happened as a result of me getting my breast implants out. People weren't available, and all of a sudden it's like they disappeared out of my life. It's like, It's a natural progression of change. And any major life change is going to be uncomfortable. Any change in your life is uncomfortable. It's just that most people don't grieve the change, don't grieve the death process, because change is like death. And until you actually address the fact that I am going through a major life change right now, fuck, ugh, ugh, like, kind of sucks. But it also is exciting, because you have to grieve what is no longer. You have to create the space for the new to come in. So now that I get all this space, literally, I get to get new. I get to reinvent my life. I actually have a whole smorgasbord of choices right in front of me right now. And I'm excited. I'm a little bit, I have a little trepidation. But I got so much stuff going on right now in a good, positive way, in my favor for a change, that I'm choosing me. And that's what this was all about. It was to reveal me, my truth. It was to show me where I'm at and to honor that for me. And I speak about this. And if you ever come to my classes, I teach on Wednesdays and Fridays, 12:45 on Wednesday and 12:30 on Fridays. My gift is in body posture. It is in breath awareness. It is in, it really is about feeling it to heal it. And I am a living testament of it. That what I speak about, I'm passionate about because I have experienced it. I can only speak from my personal experience. And I have a whole history of fitness and nutrition and lifestyle and wellness. From taking tons of workshops, tons of classes and certifications, to my own research, going and diving deep. So my change, I know ripples out, and I know how it affects others, and I've seen my influence on people. Not always acknowledged, which is perfectly fine, because it's for me to know my impact, because that's how I grow, and I witness those around me how they grow. So whether it was because I changed my diet, because I had to avoid the gluten and I decided to start avoiding other things, and that I set that standard for myself where others felt challenged or threatened because they didn't want to give up their food addictions. That wasn't my place to judge. I saw it, I was aware of it, but it was none of my business and it wasn't my issue. Sometimes it felt like an attack because, for example, being told that, we can't accommodate your food allergies, so you're going to have to bring your own food. That kind of felt like a little bit of a, that didn't feel so good. That's another example of where I didn't feel supported in a situation where, it would have been nice to feel supported. But over the course of years, I see how that affected others to where now I became supported. And then, as well as other things, and I could go on and list all sorts of stuff. It doesn't really matter. What is important to me is I've seen my growth and how it's affected others. And that happens with all of us. The work you do for you ripples out to others too. Never discount that. That the more you're willing to work on yourself, you are helping heal the collective. The world needs you to heal. That means you need to feel. The more you avoid feeling, the more you're avoiding your healing. The more present you become, the bigger gift you are. And sometimes it means walking away from the old toxic situations, people, places, things, and immersing yourself in the new, unfamiliar. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but that's a part of growth. You should be seeking out the discomfort, because that's where you're going to grow the most. Ed Mylett, the podcast I was listening to the other day, and it was just such a great way to articulate what I've always known. It's just like, muscles. You actually have to exert the muscles to the point of exhaustion in order for them to grow, to lengthen, to strengthen, so that the muscles can repair in their new form. It's no different than anything else in life. Your courage muscle needs to be exercised. You need to step out of your comfort zone. Exercising courage is also exercising that. Because outside of your comfort zone is where you grow the most. And it's a beautiful thing. And that's what we're here to do, is to do it together and sometimes apart. So what I've been sharing is essentially my heart, that my birthday is coming up next week, and I have my 30th high school reunion tomorrow, which is, well, tomorrow is the mixers, and then on Saturday is the actual reunion. And then on Saturday morning, actually that's Saturday evening, but Saturday morning will be my breath awareness, or not breath awareness, my body awareness workshop from 10 a.m. to noon. Come join me at Yoga Village in Clearwater if you're available and you're up for it. Otherwise, I am going out of town for a while, so I am going to go spend time with my family. I'm going to go take care of me and take a vacation because I deserve it and I need it. I'm excited. I'm really excited. And I'll post some videos, I'm sure. But just remember something too. Just because you have a thought doesn't make it true. It's in the confrontation of those thoughts that we really learn about ourselves the most. It's in our discomfort that we learn about ourselves the most. And sometimes it's the thought that we think that we want to attach to, that we have to confront if it's true. And sometimes being single sucks, by the way. And I'm not saying I'm rushing out looking for a partner, but sometimes being the single friend is taken for granted because other people don't realize that if we don't have someone else, that we're kind of like, I'm here still. Just check on me every once in a while. I know I don't just speak for myself when I say that. That check on your single friends. Ask them, how are they doing? And consider if you're somebody who's in partnership and you have single friends, think of them too. They don't have another partner. You have that and them. Sometimes that's the part that gets neglected, is how available the single friend may be to someone who has a partner, and the person with the partner doesn't even realize how much they're neglecting or taking for granted that single friend. That because they don't have a partner, it's just assumed that they're available. So I say that because I was thinking about that this past weekend. And when I was in the military, we kind of got screwed a lot. We'd end up on the shift work, because the married people need to be with their families. And it's like, well, wait a minute. We don't have families, so what does that mean? We get the shit end of the stick? Like, what if we wanted to go find and make a family? Like, yeah. Just little tidbits at the very tail end there. So just remember, we're all operating from our healed or unhealed wounds. And the next time you run into someone who is lashing out, see if you can actually just take a deep breath, hold your heart, just remember, everybody's fighting in some battle within you don't even know. And it's typically the mind. The biggest battle is in the mind. The biggest battle is our own mind. And if you look around the world, they're being hijacked left and right. So until you claim it, it will rule you. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions or any videos you'd like me to do in the future, please let me know in the comments. Leave me a note. Let me know how this served you tonight. If you have a tender heart, be willing to share it. There's something to be said about being raw, real, and vulnerable. It takes a lot of courage and strength. But when you reveal that and you give other people permission to do the same. So by you sharing your heart, that expands, it's a heart to heart. It's touching each other. And until you expose yourself, how do you expect other people to expose themselves too? So with that said, I'm also going to be uploading a couple new Kundalini videos. I'll be doing a Fists of Anger, which is a great exercise if you're going through lots of anger, especially during these times. If you're dealing with any inner turmoil, you can shake that shit out. That's another great tool that, like I said, you got to move your body. You got to feel it to heal it. And then I'll be doing another one for self-blessing. All right? So, have a wonderful night. I love you so much. Sweet dreams. Thank you.